Hello and welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. So excited to have you join us for today's version of AAC, What's New, What's Next here on the Speakprose Facebook page. Really excited to be bringing on the CEO of Cognixion, Andreas Forsland. I do work with him with Cognixion, and I'm so excited to be introducing him to you and also kind of picking his brain a little bit on what his thoughts are for what's been going on in the AAC community and then what our plans are for the future. So please join me in welcoming Andreas. There we go. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, May. How are you?
I am well. I am super jealous because you have been quarantined in beautiful Santa Barbara all this time.
Well, I did take a nice walk this morning. It's about all I can do for creature comforts. But yeah, the weather's really nice. So how's it in Phoenix?
It's beautiful. They did just start opening things up, and so this past weekend, Cam and I ran up to Sedona, and we stayed at a beautiful place where there weren't many people, and then we took a very little known trail. I don't even want to say it because I don't want other people to know, but it was fantastic. We only saw 3 people in 2.5 hours, and then we grabbed a quick lunch and came home. But oh God, did we need it? You know, it's just been an amazing time period here, and I am so blessed to be able to connect with people like yourself and all of my friends, colleagues, and everyone through these Zoom platforms. For me, it really has been amazing, especially because I need that, connecting with people and energy. How about you? What have you been up to in Santa Barbara?
Well, I'm just feeling really lucky. I think, as we've been building this company at Cognixion, we've always, prior to Cognixion, I worked at a company called Citrix, which makes online conferencing software. So I think we've tried to embed the idea of being able to work from anywhere from the very beginning. Fortunately or unfortunately, given the current circumstances, from a continuity perspective, I think we fared pretty good compared to a lot of other businesses. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Just for my own historical information, I just started working with Cognixion on March 16, which for me was pretty much the beginning of everything. And so I've become pretty close in terms of, working styles and just developing a new family work environment with people in Toronto, which is so far, people in Santa Barbara who I haven't met. And then obviously we know Lucas Stuber, who's the director of product development here at Cognixion. He's in Pittsburgh. But we've done a great job of just, really virtually connecting as team members and also as people, because we all kind of went through the phases to, kind of together. So it's been amazing. Thank you so much. Moving forward, the reason why I brought you on today is because I would really love your insight and your opinion on what you think is new in the AAC community, what you see going on. Let's see, I have this I want to show. Okay, so Andreas, what do you think is new?
Wow. What's new? What's new is kind of, in my mind, what's new has been stuff that's kind of been percolating over the last couple of years in the industry. I'm going to be talking about like tech for a moment. But they call it disruption, right? That the industry has kind of become comfortable with a certain status quo. And I think what's happening now, that's been starting to happen over the past year or so, is businesses and the way people are working is starting to get disrupted. And so I think the coronavirus has accelerated a lot of that disruption. So what's new is that everybody's having to really think creatively around what we are doing, thinking about how we get things done in the face of disruption and confusion. But then also, as it relates to the AAC industry, I think a lot of the frustrations that have been in place regarding accessibility or the ability to get access to speech generating devices has been a really big barrier. And what we've been looking at is all the things that people have to do to go through the process to even just get a chance to get an evaluation, to try and get your hands on a speech generating device, to get it funded, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'm seeing that's new is that whole process is starting to get disrupted. And I think because if you think about in the past, needing, say, an eye tracking based speech generating device, you'd need to get a camera bar, you'd need to get a tablet, you'd have to go through all of the funding processes to get multiple codes approved and so on. Well, now that you have more consumer options, right? You have consumer technology and consumer cameras that are really, really high quality that can be used as a substitute for some of these advanced technologies that are out there. But, and so we as a company have been we saw it coming, and so that's where we've made our investment, is to help simplify the access to AAC software on consumer grade devices, and minimizing the complexity of being able to get your hands on it. So I think we're just one of many companies that are going to be coming to the market with that strategy to help simplify the world of access to technology, because there's so many millions of people out there that need this kind of AAC solutions and technology, but they just can't get it because they either can't afford it, or the simple, easy to use aspect of the user experience is different. So I think what's new is that people are spending more time thinking about, how can I have access to what I need on consumer devices? How can I have it so that it's affordable, and so on. So I think that's new. And as it relates to that, I'm also excited, if it's okay to share here on the program, I'm excited to share that we've partnered with Lincare AAC, which is a prominent oxygen and gas and ventilation company. They've been in business for a very long time, and they have an AAC division that has partnered with us to bring a fundable speech generating device that's available all under one reimbursement code. So our Speakprose Pro Plus app on an iOS device, and that speech generating device is called the Expression I, and it's going to come out in multiple sizes for different use cases. But it's available today, and it's available for funding in 48 states around the country. So we're very excited about the possibility of helping speech therapists have access to technology, reducing the complexity of being able to support evaluations. I think that's a real new thing that we're having to deal with. And if there's anything we can do to help really support the process from evaluations to funding to delivery, training, and support, we're now set up to be able to do that.
Absolutely. You know, going back to this shift that we've seen in, I would say, parents, users, advocates, those are the people that have been kind of stepping up in the last couple of weeks to reach out to us. I've done a couple of demos with people that, you know, they had no idea that Speakprose was out there. And when I start showing them, they're just amazed, and they're like, wow, I can get this on my iPad, you know, and how easy it is to set up. And we weren't really seeing that before. It was mostly kind of, you know, that the evaluation teams who were totally educated on all of the options and then bringing it to the end users. And I definitely agree with you on this, is that, you know, people are just, they're really wanting more information, they're wanting to be more involved, and it's so much more accessible for so many reasons. You know, one is the funding, the other is that this is a time when we just can't get out to them. You know, we cannot do those in-person evaluations, and so they're really taking responsibility and advocating, and it's just been wonderful. So let's go to the next one, which I'm really, really excited about. One of the reasons that I joined Cognixion is because I love tech. And it kind of is like when you're in an interview and you're like, I love people, you know, but I have been an early adopter for years with things, and I never realized how much I integrate and really, really love using technology. And so I had brought my iPad into my clinical settings years ago and saw the value of that. And so the stuff that we've talked about, and I know like there's things that we've said we have to have an NDA for, but I was so excited to have you on today because when I speak to people and I tell them I'm working with Cognixion, and I say things like brain-computer interface, you know, BCI, you know, talking about AI and things like that, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, what does that look like? And what are you guys talking about? So please share what you can. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so what's next is interesting because we sort of saw what's next about 6 years ago. So the work that we're working on now, which is, it's really exciting because as a company, we've been doing research and development in all kinds of areas of access to technologies, right? So we started out with our first product, which was called Smart Stones, if you Google Cognixion in our history. And we were working on how to convert gestures, physical gestures and sensors to convert gestures into commands that could be shortcuts for speech. And then after that, we said, well, what would the ultimate user interface be and that we would all want to use at some point? And we thought, well, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if we could build something that could literally just take your brainwaves and convert it into communication? And so we thought that was a really crazy moonshot kind of, crazy idea back, 4 or 5 years ago. And we started actually working on it about 4 years ago. And it's actually culminated into an actual product that we're going to be shipping. And so we're working on, it's essentially a headband that includes sensors that are really discrete. And those sensors are just listening to the brainwaves in your head. And it's coupled with a heads-up display. So essentially using your brain, you can select objects in the heads-up display. So if you can imagine a world where folks today are using tablets to communicate and trying to calibrate eye tracking and all this other stuff, all of those problems go away with the solution that we're going to be releasing.
So when you say heads-up display, we're talking about it all being right here.
Yeah,
right?
It's a wearable headband. It's a headband that includes a display that is essentially like a visor. It's called augmented reality. So for those of you who've maybe seen those boxes that you put on your face, those are called virtual reality, which is completely closed in. That's not what this is. This is what we're working on is augmented reality, which is think of it as like clear glasses. And you can see as the wearer, you can see out. And as the outside world, you can see in, so you can still make face contact and eye contact with the person wearing it. So it's pretty exciting.
That's amazing. I would also love to interview some of the people on our team. And for people that are watching right now, if you want to answer us in the chat or later on if you're watching, please let us know. Would you be interested in just doing kind of a Q&A with our neuroscientists and our biosignal processing coder? I mean, we have amazing people, and to kind of pick their brain and find out, what are they thinking of and what are they envisioning when they're coding? Is that something that'd be interesting? I'd love to know. So any last words here, Andreas, as we move forward? I know that I try to keep this to 15 minutes, but I could keep you here all day.
Well, just, we're an unusual kind of company, I think, in the sense that we, as a company, we're an interface company, really. So if anyone asks, like, what is Cognixion? We create interfaces that make it easier for people to do things. And so we happen to be doing really remarkable work in the AAC space because it's so needed to make it easier to access communication. But in the future, we're also going to be dealing with things like environmental controls, right? And so you can really think about the future that we should be thinking about is how can we empower people to do more than just communicate, right? Can we give them more independence and agency to be able to do all kinds of things? Build relationships, have friends, be able to create information, be able to compose things, be able to consume things if they want to shop, if they want to download content or they want to view things. All of these things that we all take for granted, a lot of the people that we work with and support tend to get marginalized because it's just simply they can't access that kind of capability. And we want to make sure that the full possibilities of the digital economy, that all of our friends and family and children and loved ones, they don't miss out on that. And so I think that's really central to the heart of Cognixion, but also the science of what we can do to bring those two things together. So we'll be continuing to share more and more around what we're doing, and we just would love your engagement. We're an open book in the sense that we try and be as transparent as we can, and thanks, Mai, for offering to interview other folks on our team. We're happy to open the doors to conversation and partnerships, academics and clinical and families.
Excellent. Jody Mack posted that she would love to find out how she can get access to the case that you were discussing.
Access to the case. The tablet?
Yep, I'm thinking so. Jody, you can connect with me directly after this, and we can definitely get you connected. And then Marina also, here we have a comment from Marina also. And she says yes. So she would love to get some interviews. So I'm thinking Sarah or Chris, or Sarah and Chris. I think this would be amazing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. And if you guys are really interested in diving deep and learning about how the brain works and understanding how you can understand how the brain works with sensors, that's really what our team's here to be able to educate. I think some folks are scared because of Hollywood around BCI. They think it's going to read your brain and it's going to, brainwash you or have some negative effects, but it's nothing like that at all. So it's completely acceptable and a useful interface, and there is no harm in BCI. So we're excited to share more about it.
Yes, and I think Sarah and Chris will do a great job of giving us that behind the scenes, what they've been up to. I am so excited. Thank you, Andreas, for joining us on this Wednesday, and I hope that you have a good rest of your week. Say goodbye to Andreas now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's AAC What's New, What's Next.